Hey there, welcome along to the Purple Golf Academy. If anyone would like some help with their game, please check out our website at purplegolf.com, and if you feel like having a lesson with us, we'd be happy to help you with your game. Today we're going to take a look at New World number 2 Martin Kaymer and see what we can learn from his action. Kaymer's a guy who is super confident, super calm on the course, putts really well, and hits the ball long and straight. That's just a great combination. It's not surprising that he is at the moment the man to beat in world golf. But let's take a look at his swing today and see what we can learn and see what makes this man so good. I think the first thing that we want to look at with Kaymer is just how fluent and languid and free-flowing his swing is. There's no sense that there's tension in this swing or any kind of rigidity or too many technical thoughts going on. This guy just is confident, he gets up to the ball and he just lets it go at his target. And looking at the swing here in sort of 3/4 speed, you just get that feeling of freedom and kind of effortless power. So let's take a look at this swing in a little bit more detail. So first of all, I just want to draw a line on this swing here, through the middle of his feet. And what you notice straight away from that line is how balanced he is around the middle of his feet. If you were to push him from either side, he's pretty stable there, he wouldn't fall over. With a lot of amateur golfers, you see the weight on the toes, and if you were to push them from behind their back, they would topple over very easily. With Kaymer here, he's very, very balanced, and that's something we will see throughout his swing. I'm just going to pop a couple of other lines on here, which will help us analyse Kaymer's swing in a little bit more detail. Okay, so let's take him through his takeaway here, and we'll notice the first thing of Martin's swing, which is a little bit unusual, and that is that the club straight away comes up above what we call the plane line. In a conventional backswing, the club would track directly up this line for the first few feet of the backswing, but with Kaymer here, you can see clearly the club goes immediately above that plane line, so he's swinging that club on a steeper plane. Now the reason for that is because his club face tends to be a little bit shut off the ball, so his right arm tends to get a bit higher, and that's one of the reasons why his swing is a little bit more upright, and he favours a left to right shot. And taking him back through his swing, the other thing that I want to point out here is how good his turn is off the ball. And if you look at him here, kind of just past halfway back, or halfway back there, you can see there's quite a lot of hip turn in there, and certainly there's a lot of shoulder turn. His hands really here are still in the middle of the chest there, in the middle of his turn. So what that means is that he's really dictating this backswing with his upper body, with his turn of his shoulders. It's not a swing that's dominated by the hands, it's dominated by the turn of the trunk. And that's definitely something we can learn from with Kaymer. And taking him to the top of the swing, because of that kind of slightly unusual takeaway move, he gets a little bit across the line at the top, and his hands are probably a little bit higher than your average player. And also you can see that the head there has gone down quite a bit in the backswing. Again, that's the result of the club being a little bit outside the line on the backswing, and the club face a little bit shut, which makes the arms go higher, and I've always kind of moved a little bit down, a little bit forward. That said, he's also made a fantastic turn to the top. Now if we go back to that original line that I drew on Martin's posture, you can see at the top there, he is so well balanced around that line. You know, his lower body and the bottom of his back there are to the left of that line, and equally his upper body to the right of that line. He's just perfectly balanced at the top. And again, evidence of that is you can see here his backside has moved from its original starting point. It's moved kind of away from the ball, which again is showing how well he's turned and how well he's kind of compressing into the ground, and also how well he's balanced there. So there's some excellent things there that you can learn from. Now if we start this swing down, again you can see at this point here, number one, his shaft plane is steeper than the original shaft plane. So in a kind of conventional action here, that line would be, those two lines would be parallel, whereas here his swing plane is a little bit steeper, it's more upright. That again is kind of an indicator of a person who likes to hit the ball from left to right. And the other thing is that his arms are way out in front of his body there. well, if you looked at someone like Tiger Woods, for example, his shaft would be kind of below his right shoulder at this point, and his hands would be a little bit lower there. But with Kaymer here, his hands come down from a much kind of higher position. It's much more upright downswing, so he's going to be steeper into the ball. So in some ways, it's a steep downswing. It's almost kind of like an over-the-top move. But what makes this different to your average over-the-top slicing amateur is this lower body position, how far back his legs stay, how kind of centered he is around the middle of his feet here. With your average slicer, his hips would be almost on this line, if not to the right of it by this stage. His weight would be completely forward, and that would make for a very choppy, weak action. Whereas with Kaymer here, because his hips are back, he's able to drive his legs down the target line. You can see that right foot rolling, and that makes it a very powerful action. So coming into the ball here, you can see Kaymer's real strength, and that is he gets the shaft bang on the plane line at impact, and through impact here, the club exits along that plane line. So that means he's got a very, very square release. The plane of his swing is good through the ball, and the face is square, and his leg action is really good through the ball as well. So you've got some really good factors there that come together to mean he's going to hit the ball very, very consistently. And the key to Kaymer's game is he plays with a very powerful slight fade, and his bad shot is generally just a slight block to the right. So because he's got such a passive club face, if he does block the ball, it's not going very far offline, so his bad shots are not at all destructive. And I think that's one of the key reasons why he is so successful and so dominant at the moment. Now if we bring it through here to this position, you can see this left wrist position here is in such a neutral square position there. There's no sense that he's rolled his wrist through impact, and what that means is that club face is just completely and utterly square to his turn. So all he's doing is swinging fractionally from out to in through the ball, imparting that little bit of fade spin, and the face is just completely square, so he's going to hit the ball wherever his swing path takes him. So he swings through to it's quite a balanced finish position there, quite a free-flowing finish position. So that's quite interesting from down the line. Some good things to learn there. Now let's just have a look at him from face on. Now I've got a swing here from him, quite a good swing here from last year at Wentworth in the BMW. Now there's a couple of really, really interesting things that we can pick up from this angle here. Now in the takeaway here, we can see that right hand staying very much on top there. And that's what we talked about. He doesn't rotate his club face or his arms off the ball, so it's a little bit shut at that point, and his right arm stays quite high. That's the main reason why his swing is quite upright. And the other thing that I want to notice here is just how well his shoulders do turn off the ball. It's a really kind of shoulder-dominated action off the ball. And if you draw a line there through his shoulders, that's a very shallow plane. His left shoulder effectively remains quite high. What you see with a lot of players is that the shoulder plane is a lot steeper, and that left shoulder would be somewhere kind of down in this position by the halfway back point. With Kaymer here, it's a very level shoulder turn, and that makes it a really strong turn with the body, one which kind of offers him a lot of power later on in his swing. Again here you can see that the hips have turned quite a lot by this stage as well, and his right hip's almost moved nearer to the target by this point. So taking him to the top here, you can see there just how much his hips have kind of moved towards the target. His left hip is certainly nearer the target than it started, and his right hip has turned behind him and is definitely inside his right heel there. That's something you really want to try and achieve yourselves, because that stacks you over the ball. It really gets you using the ground and gets you ready for a powerful downswing leg action. Again, hands are quite high here, albeit it's a fairly short shot, so it's not made a completely full backswing, but the hands are in quite a high position here. But what I want just to pinpoint at this stage is his head position here. Now at the top, his head's a little bit nearer his target, but as he comes down, what you're going to see is that head moves significantly nearer the target. Now that's quite unusual amongst top players. Most top players will have their head pretty much in the same position as what it started by this point of the swing. It'll almost keep their upper body behind the ball and release from kind of the right side. With Kaymer here, it's very much an upper body action. He's leaning into the shot. So the lower body here has eased to the target. Now that's what you'd expect, but you'd expect the head to be much further back. But in fact, he's moving towards the target. So he's got a slightly steeper approach, and he's got his body to the left. What that means is that he's able to hit into his left side from that steep position. If he did hang back in a conventional fashion with the upper body and had that steep approach, it would be a much less powerful action. His hands would not be able to release the club in the way that they do. You can see here that his left arm and the club form almost a straight line, well past impact, and that is sort of a sign of a very strong impact position. His hands are really leading the club into impact. Now, he wouldn't be able to do that if his weight was much further back towards his right foot, or if his head was more behind the ball. So it's quite unusual, but it works very well for Kaymer. And this position here is exceptionally unusual. His upper body is very, very far forward, and his chest is almost facing completely to the target by this point, which is quite unusual. And you see the back of his right foot here is sort of moving almost away from the target, which again is not conventional. Certainly that position there with the right foot, very, very unusual. But that's a product of the fact that he moves to his left side very early in the downswing, and as a result of that he's not driving off his right foot in this through swing as most players would be. He's already made that drive at a much earlier point. So very, very interesting swing, Kaymer's. There's a lot of things to learn there. Excellent balance and excellent turn of the body. Those are two things that we really would try to emulate. And that controlled fade of his works fantastically well for him. And that kind of steep angle attack, maybe not be for everyone, but for sure it works for him, and he's got tremendous consistency, and definitely something that is going to hold him in good stead in the years to come. So I hope that's useful, I hope that's enjoyable for everybody, and as I say, if anyone wants to join us for a lesson at purplegolf.com/academy, we'd love to have you.